So I watched Clerks 3 about a few days ago. That was a weird release. It just released through Fathom Events, which I had to pay like extra $5 for that. The other weird thing about it is the reviews that came out for this movie, because it seems like it was either a piece of crap or one of the best things that you ever watched. And I couldn't decide what that what that meant. It was a mixed reviewed movie, I guess. The first review I watched was from IGN, giving it an 8 out of 10, and I thought, IGN usually gives the general view of what people think most of the time, I guess. I know people like to disagree with that channel or website, but it's like on half and half. I don't know how to explain it, but it usually does give a general idea what to think, like most reviews do, but I just check that one out every now and then. And the other one that made me actually want to watch this was Silent Rob's review of the movie, and giving me a huge detail to what this could be. So I thought, yeah, I should go watch this. I liked Clerks 1. I think that's a great movie. I can rewatch that anytime. Clerks 2, while people do hate it, I do like that movie also. It's not bad. Well, maybe it is bad, but I still think it's funny. I do like everything about it. I haven't seen most of Kevin Smith's movies. I've seen Chasing Amy. I didn't really like it. Mallrats, I have to watch that one again. I think people like that one a lot, but the first time I saw it, I didn't really think much of it. Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, I thought was funny. The reboot was pretty bad, but I still could tolerate and enjoy some of its moments. Something I don't understand was woke comments I saw from that movie. I don't really remember anything woke about it, but people like to think that they're special or something. I don't know. People are on fucking something these days that just say that word to explain anything, and it's like retarded. That movie was weird. It's not good. It was just a bunch of inside jokes, and there's this one scene that doesn't make any sense and it breaks the fourth wall. But whatever, I could tolerate that movie. That one was not good. Yoga Hoser's never seen that or any of these other newer movies he's done. Except for Cop Out, but I enjoyed that one. But I was like a kid when I saw that. Never seen Dogma. I think that's the only one I'm missing that I haven't seen. So apparently he's put out crap the past years after the Askew universe stuff. Stuff like Jersey Girl, I think. Jersey Girl and onwards. So I thought, after reboot, I didn't think this would be that special. I thought it would be like just one of those movies he's done these past few years that are just like nothing. Just for, I don't know who the target audience is anymore. But for this one, it was definitely his fans. And I could not recommend this to anyone else. It's based on a trailer. I couldn't understand what to think of it. It was basically just retelling every joke you've probably heard before in the first movies. That's what it seemed like. Yeah, that's pretty much what it is, but more. As the movie goes on, yeah, that's pretty much what it is. They remake the first Clerks movie, the second one also, but I didn't see much of that. I had to go take a piss break during that. It was probably like a very short scene anyway. So yeah, Randall gets a heart attack, and that makes him realize he hasn't done shit with his life, so he decides to make a movie. And that's the plot. He remakes the first Clerks movie. Which, yeah, that sounds pretty meta and whatever, it's what it is. You'd think that it would suck, but no, it doesn't suck that much. At least for the first 20 minutes, I just wasn't sure what to think. The first 20 minutes weren't really that great, but once it picks up, it keeps going on pretty well. The plot is fine, it's just he makes his first movie, but the one thing that we've all just known before is that Randall's just an asshole the whole time. And he's like a bigger asshole in this movie than he's ever been in the other movies, because he just thinks very little of Dante during the whole thing. It was kind of a weird thing, but I mean, specifically if you watch the first movies, you know that Dante was kind of the main character. So I don't understand what the process of writing a movie about his life is. I don't know, maybe it was written from his perspective and what we saw was different. I don't know. There's this scene that goes on for way too long, and it's the audition part. It doesn't really go anywhere. It's kind of a pointless scene, actually. I think it's just a fun scene for Kevin Smith and his friends that he's met along the way. But after that, they just decide to play themselves, which doesn't really make sense because they are supposed to be in their 20s and we do get to see the end product of Randall's movie, and it's just the original Clerks that we've watched back, how many years ago. Now let's talk about some stuff that I didn't really like about this movie at all. And a lot of it has to do with just some of the bad jokes that are just there, but it just isn't very good. Elias kind of went to Satanism, and it's just a weird turn. I don't really like him in this movie that much. He has a stupid costume each scene, and I think it's supposed to be funny, but it's really not. It's just kind of very distracting for the most part. And he also has his friend that doesn't talk, which is supposed to be his Silent Bob. I don't think he's funny at all either. And there's also this weird push for NFTs. I think Kevin Smith does NFTs, I guess, so whatever. I don't think NFTs are great. I don't think they're useful for anything. I know that I'm gonna get some asshole in the comments saying they're good for something. I don't know. They're not a good investment. I don't know who would want these. But yeah, those scenes were not very good. And yeah, that's about it, except for this one part I'm not gonna reveal. It happens after this major event, and it doesn't give enough time for that thing before to breathe a little. At least it just kind of feels a little too jokey for my liking. But this is towards the end, so that's just a little gripe I have with this. But it does get very emotional at the end. I would say that there's people that said they cried. I almost did. Very emotional scene. I wasn't expecting that from a Clerks movie out of all places. And speaking of which, this one isn't as very vulgar as those other movies have been. A lot of the jokes are from just the point of filmmaking. And the whole movie felt very short. Even though it's like almost 2 hours long, it felt very short, which is very welcoming. Some movies feel like they drag on for a little too long. I think this one was perfect. Except for that audition scene, I think that would drag on too long. Yeah, the whole thing was great. So Dante's story was that he's just still grieving over his loss of his family, which, yeah, that sounds like a major spoiler, but it's really not. That's one of the plot points. He's just grieving about this, and Randall is just going on about his movie because he almost died, which that almost happened to Kevin Smith. And Randall doesn't seem to give a shit about Dante, so that's his whole story arc during this whole movie. It seemed kind of weird since they've been friends for like 30 years. The movie itself doesn't look so great. It looks kind of cheap in most places. So yeah, I mean, Kevin Smith during the beginning of this whole thing said so. Yeah, this movie was great. I thought it was good. Maybe I didn't like it as much as other people did, but I certainly enjoyed it. And yeah, I can see how people would think that this was a piece of shit. I'd give it an 8 out of 10. I don't think it's as good as 1 or 2. I think 1 is still the best. I'd say I'd recommend it for anyone that's a fan of the first 2 movies, or at least Kevin Smith's movie catalog.